And you've been listening to live remarks by Donald Trump addressing a business forum in Saudi Arabia under the eye of Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, with the big news coming at the end with Donald Trump announcing, we're with Kethevane Gorjestani from our International Affairs Desk, the cessation of sanctions on Syria, saying it's their time to shine.
Yes, this is a huge announcement and a huge victory for the new Syrian leadership, because that is why the new leader was in Paris just recently trying to get the Europeans to lift their sanctions. And part of that was also a sort of lobbying for them to also get the Americans to lift the sanctions. Donald Trump says that it was his discussions with the Saudi Crown Prince and with Turkey's Recep Tayyip Erdogan that made him make that decision to lift all sanctions on Syria. We're still going to have to see how concretely this works and whether or not it's all sanctions lifted all at the same time or in incremental pieces. We had heard earlier in the day the White House confirming that, quote, the president had agreed to say hello to the Syrian president while in Saudi Arabia tomorrow. We'll see if tomorrow that actually happens. But Donald Trump also said, and that will be official and that will be a formal meeting, not a hello. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is set to meet with the foreign minister of Syria sometime this week. We don't know exactly in which location.
He mentioned there Turkey, that perhaps it would be...
So perhaps Turkey. So this is pretty much the biggest announcement from this almost hour-long speech.
Hour-long speech by Donald Trump, where he talked a lot about Iran. He talked a lot about as well the role that Saudi Arabia has played in brokering, trying to broker a peace between Russia and Ukraine. There was mention of the conflict in the Middle East. We're with Moustafa Barghouti, president of the Palestinian Medical Relief Society, activist, a medical doctor by training. You're here for a conference in Paris of the humanitarian groups talking about what to do about Gaza. And we heard in that speech Donald Trump saying the people of Gaza deserve a much better future. There was applause in the room at that point. How did you interpret that applause?
I think it was the biggest applause besides the one for Syria. And that shows you the real feelings of the Arab world, including the feelings in Saudi Arabia. President Trump has just concluded an agreements with Saudi Arabia worth $600 billion, including one on military sale of $142 billion. And that is a lot. But what he said about Palestine is too little. Just saying that people in Gaza deserve better life is not enough. What about the West Bank? What about the West Bank, which Israel is trying to annex? He didn't say a word about stopping the war in Gaza. He didn't say a word about a deal that would include the release of all captives in exchange of stopping the war. That is one of the most essential issues that were not touched, unfortunately.
And in the last 24 hours, there have been 2 hospitals in Gaza targeted. The first, Israel says, was because it was a Palestinian militant, a journalist, who went in with the militants on October 7th. He'd been targeted before. And now we're getting word in the last hour of another hospital in southern Gaza being targeted.
It's not just another hospital. It's the European hospital, one of the most important remaining hospitals in Gaza. It was bombarded at least with 6 rockets. It was terribly destroyed, and that is very dangerous. Actually, it paralyzed one of the last functioning hospitals, this terrible attack. And what the previous attack on another hospital in Khan Yunis, in which they targeted a journalist who was already injured, suffering from terrible burns because of another Israeli airstrike, and he was being treated in the hospital. So they bombarded the burn unit, killed the journalist and other people. This is the journalist number 216 that is killed by the Israeli airstrikes. And let me remind you that not a single foreign journalist was allowed into Gaza. because Israel is trying to hide what's happening there.
Israel, which next week says it is going to be going into Gaza. That's what the Prime Minister says. Looking at what's going on with Donald Trump not making Israel part of his stopover this time, do you feel as though in Washington the mood is shifting away from giving carte blanche to Benjamin Netanyahu?
Probably. I think we see a big gap between Netanyahu and his government and President Trump on all major issues. On the issue of Syria, what he said today about Syria will upset Netanyahu. About Yemen, on the issue of the Israeli captives, which Trump seems to be caring about them and Netanyahu doesn't. The issue of Iran, the issue of Turkey. All these issues are issues of dispute between the two sides. But we have to see that we expected from Trump something stronger, because what Netanyahu said today is very dangerous. He said, as soon as Trump leaves the area, he will initiate the widest possible military campaign on Gaza, which means he's going to kill thousands of people, civilians, and his plan is to push everybody into a concentration camp in Rafah, and then try to conduct ethnic cleansing of Gaza. The worst kind of war crimes that can happen.
Moustafa Barghouti, many thanks for joining us here on France 24.
Thank you.
And Kethevane Gorjestani will be joining us when we'll be talking about Donald Trump's trip to Saudi Arabia in the France 24 debate. Stay with us, more to come, including opening night at the Cannes Film Festival.